Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Michael Smith, and welcome to a Friday evening chat on our Music and Performing Arts at Shelter Rock page. Shelter Rock is the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Shelter Rock in Manhasset, New York. Last spring, we inaugurated a series of chats to stay connected and to get to know each other and to share music. And we had chats until about July. And as the weather got warmer on Friday evenings, I thought, well, people probably want to be out in their gardens and bicycling and enjoying the sun. And I also thought, well, this may not last. This COVID thing probably will pass. It's summertime. And once we're into the fall, we'll probably be back to life, our life as it was before. So we'll just see what happens with the chats. Well, here we are. It's the end of October. Life is still very much in the lockdown. And so we are going to continue our chats, which for me is at least a little bright light during this COVID time. So I'm really pleased to welcome Ken Hughes with me tonight. Ken is someone, if you're involved with Shelter Rock, you certainly know him. Usually he's got a guitar in his hands and is playing music or is some way music oriented. Otherwise, he might be involved in RE. But anyway, Ken, welcome.
Hey, Stephen. Thanks for inviting me to participate in this chat. It's really been a nice opportunity for me to think about music and think about Shelter Rock and a chance to share. I really appreciate the chance to share.
So I was going to ask you how your life is impacted and different now. You're an educator professionally, and you do a lot of music. How has your life changed in the last 8 months?
Yeah, really amazing, right? So in March, we just sort of we said, okay, you guys are going home, and you're going to learn how to do Google Classroom. And to be honest, the spring was a rough go, trying to figure out how to navigate websites and provide material that might seem, interesting or engaging to kids who you no longer were going to be able to see. It's been a little bit better, coming back to work in September this year, because we're all a little more familiar with all of that technology. And I'm also at work. I also go into the school building. I don't see too many students, right? There's a classroom with maybe 9 students in it, and everybody's wearing a mask, but at least we're all in the same classroom together. And there are most of the students still at home, but we go on meetings. We go on Google Meets. So we use Google Meet as the platform, like Zoom. And so every day I have 3 classes or 4 classes that are on the computer, but live, synchronous, with students who are at home. And then I push into classrooms. I go into classrooms because children don't leave their classroom. They're supposed to sort of stay at their own place and not really mix it up too much in their classroom. They stay there really all day unless they're going out, to use the bathroom or something. And that's
you're the one that's moving. Teachers are moving around.
Yeah. I'm a music teacher. The 2 music teachers in my school, the art teacher and the 2 phys ed teachers, all engage the students. Well, the phys ed teachers see the students outside, which is safe, and so that's the best thing for them to do. But the visual arts teacher and the 2 music teachers push in, and it's kind of like full circle, because when I first started teaching music, I had a cart and my guitar slung over my back, and I would push into classrooms because I didn't have a classroom for the first 5 years or so when I was teaching music then. Yeah.
So how about making music? How has your life been impacted as a musician?
Technology, I feel at least comfortable enough to be able to produce some music on the computer. And, when we got locked down, my blues band and I, we tried to, share some video together and see if we could put together some non-synchronous, performances, right? That was a little challenging, but it was a different sort of product, right? So, it's still a chance to make music. And at Shelter Rock, Dan Pratt does this jazz ensemble, and we still continue to meet. We try to use an online platform for producing music, recording it up in the cloud. And then we went to trying to use our phones and, video ourselves, and we put it all together in those multi-screen presentations. And we started doing that. But over the summer, with my blues band, for example, we've gone out to play. We went out and with our battery powered amplifiers and found a spot. Tom lives in Williamsburg. We found a spot down there, and we set up and we played. We've done that 3 or 4 times since the end of August. We wear masks unless I'm singing something, unless Tom's playing harmonica, he puts his mask back on. And the people down there, it's really great. People there have a wonderful community, good sense of community. People stop and listen for 20 minutes. People with their kids stop and listen. We get a really great feeling to be able to play live, of course. And people, we work for tips. We're busking. So that's all great, man. That's what the old blues guys used to do in Chicago, right? They used to busk until it was time to go play at the club. They would busk on the streets and south side of Chicago. So this has been kind of joyous to be able to get out and play together. I think this Sunday, the jazz ensemble up at Shelter Rock is going to try to do a little rehearsal in person.
Well, I'll tell you in news now. No, it's the weather. It's going to be 53 degrees and possibly rainy, so that's been canceled. But that's another topic. So it's not happening. But I think that's also part. Yeah, but I also think that's part of trying to make music now. A lot of groups are trying to make music outdoors, but obviously, as it gets colder, that's an issue, and you can't depend on the weather. So it's all part of this time of being free and open and seeing what the universe gives you and moving along the best you can, right? So Ken, tell us a little bit about you and the guitar and how you came to play the guitar and your relationship with the guitar. Were you a young kid when you first started playing, and how did it all happen?
Yeah, I was. So, it was a great chance to think about, how music was important to me when I was a kid. I got this little box that was about the size of a MacBook. It was a little portable record player. And somebody bought me, this 45. So I was listening to Winchester Cathedral.
Tell people what that is. You might have to tell people what that is.
This is a 45 record, right? So you put it on a turntable, and you
What's a turntable?
Listen, man, I think our crowd's, hip to a turntable. So yeah, the song, I played it obsessively, right? Because I was born in 62, the end of 62, the song came out in 66. So I was 3 or 4 years old. And when you're 3 or 4 years old, you can listen to something obsessively, right? So my poor sister, whose room was right next to mine, she had to listen to it, over and over. And this is not my first copy of Winchester Cathedral. Somehow that first copy went missing. So nobody ever found it again. But music, I listened to Simon and Garfunkel.
You have to tell us then, how do you have that in your hand?
So my family, my extended family, I lived in an apartment in Astoria. I grew up in Astoria, and my grandparents lived downstairs in the same building. And I spent a lot of time with them. My mom worked during the day. My dad was working during the day. And I'm sure it was one of my grandparents. I'm thinking it was one of my grandparents. They found out that this record was missing, and they took me up to Bobby's Beat, which was the record store up the block. And for, I think they were like 79 cents, right? And they got me another copy of this, I'm sure. My sister was so happy to see me, and hear me playing this again, after she had gone through the trouble of hitting the incinerator with it or whatever. But, I still have my 45s, and music was really, really important. As I was growing up, I was listening, my sister had all these Beatles albums, and I was, obsessed with the Beatles as I grew a little bit older. And I think my mom was probably paying attention by the time I was a teenager. I wanted to play guitar. So pretty sure she found the guitar, but it was a made of composite, wood plastic composite guitar. It was about $25, and it came in a vinyl bag. And and my parents got me lessons with Kevin Allen, and Kevin was the quintessential Astoria guy because he made a living playing weddings and giving guitar lessons. Everybody in Astoria took lessons from Kevin. If they didn't, there was another guy over on 30th Avenue. But Kevin really gave lessons to few generations of guitar players. So I had a relationship with Kevin that lasted, my entire life now, because a couple of years ago I went back and took a few months of lessons with him. And when I say quintessential Astoria guy, he didn't go to college, but he's brilliant. He gave me a great background in harmony. I went through a couple of books of Mel Bay guitar with him, and he had me buy the Mickey Baker guitar book. And Mickey Baker had all the guitar chords and exercises worked out. And this other really important book that I had, this Warren Noon's guitar method, which had 13 sequenced blues. So essentially the first one was just 3 chords, and you play along, 3 chords, go back to Kevin next week and do your Mel Bay and then play that. But by the time I was finished with that Warren Noon's book, there were all these substitutions and chords and stuff. And Kevin was really, good, and drove that home that, you had to learn that stuff. And my guitar playing, I owe a lot to him. I owe a lot to my family. And then thinking about it, I owe a lot to my peers. So, Astoria was it was 1970s in New York City, man. It was a rough place, right? There were no music lessons in my schools that I attended. But my friends were also a big part of the way I learned and supported my musical interests. I went over to a friend's place after school, and this is high school by now. And his older brother had bought this album, this Double Dose album, Hot Tuna. And Hot Tuna, still around today. These guys are 80 years old, and they're still playing. So the Hot Tuna album had 4 sides. 3 of them were electric, and they were loud electric stuff, very aggressive. And one side was acoustic. And Jorma Kaukonen, the guitar player for the band, was really interested in old blues and folk stuff. And he played with a kind of a style where he used his fingers, finger picked. And that whole idea, comes from a style of music called Piedmont blues, which is a finger style that came out of the Southeast. In South Carolina, Reverend Gary Davis played on the street, and he developed a style with the finger picks on two fingers. And he played all kinds of ragtime music and blues. And Jorma, though he never took lessons with Reverend Gary, he played a lot of his repertoire. And on this album, Double Dose, I heard this version of Wine and Boy Blues, which is a Jelly Roll Morton song. And I was obsessed with that. And the second track, which was Keep Your Lamps Trimmed and Burning, which is a Reverend Gary's piece. And I had to go out and buy it. So when I was in high school, I bought a double album, which probably cost $12 or $15, just to have that one side. And that's really the thing that I first got interested in playing. And I think, we prepared some music, right, to share.
Great, yeah, I think we should probably move along and listen to some music.
Yeah. Right. So this one is the Hesitation Blues is one that I did to enter a contest to go to Jorma's Guitar Ranch, which is like a resort for guys of a certain age who play guitar. So this was a submission for the contest.
Okay, let's hear it. And so this is the Hesitation Blues.
Hesitation Blues. tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get you now, Lord, must I hesitate? An eagle on a dollar says, in God we trust. Yes, you say you want a man, but you want to see that dollar first. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get you now, Lord, or must I hesitate? If a river was whiskey and I was a duck, you know I swim to the bottom, but I never come up. Tell me how long. In the ocean and fish in the sea, don't you mean the world to me? Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get you now, must I? Hesitation stockings, I got the hesitation shoes. In the morning, Lord, I got them hesitation blues. Tell me how long do I have to wait? Can I get you now? Must I hesitate? Can I get you now? Must I hesitate?
So Kate Sullivan said you should have won that competition.
Yeah,
want you
Kate
to
and
know
I
that.
went to the Third Piece Ranch together. We went down there together. We drove from Columbus Airport, and did a weekend down there. One of those times. Kate's a good friend. Yeah.
And there's a little chat going on about the Blues Project. Do you know about the Blues Project? Audrey Murphy and Bill Acosta are talking about the Blues Project.
Yeah, well, I don't know too much about the band. I didn't own any of their albums, but the Blues Project was a band here in New York City. It was part of the whole blues revival scene. But that's not my area of background. I don't know too much about the band. They played in the Village. They started here, I think, in New York City.
So Ken, was the guitar a babe magnet when you were in high school? Because as a non-guitarist, I always felt like people who played the guitar, like everybody loved that. Was it a babe? Can I say that in today's times?
Yeah, it definitely was part of the allure of playing the guitar because in our group, in our social group, I gravitated toward the artsy people in Astoria, and then in the larger sort of Queens and Brooklyn. I had a lot of friends that came to Astoria to go to Marta Christie, and I met great people there. But the funny thing is, it wasn't just the guys who played guitar, although it was a guy thing. There were girls that I met, girls, my friends back in high school, girlfriends that played guitar. It was a very popular thing to do. Yes, playing the guitar was like always a communal activity, community activity. So it was a fun thing to bring down to the park when we were hanging out at Astoria Park, and play for people. And sure, yeah, it was something like a babe magnet, I guess you'd say.
So take us along on your trajectory. So how old were you when you did this?
That must be about 12, 13, maybe 15 years ago. I'm not sure, to be honest. I went down to Athens in Ohio, or actually it's in Meigs County, just south of Athens, where Fiona's in school. And I did that 3 times back in the aughts, right? That's what you call it there, until 2010. So I haven't been back. I want to go back again because Yorma's still running the ranch. She's doing COVID concerts on Saturday nights on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live. And I do want to go back. So that piece was something that it took me years to be able to play. I couldn't play it like that when I was in high school, but I kept at it, right? So, I always had a taste for that kind of guitar playing. It's great to be able to finger pick, and you can play by yourself. When you're finger picking, it's kind of like playing a piano on the guitar. That was the idea.
Great.
Yeah. So you have a second song queued up, right?
I think we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I can introduce the song,
Let's do it.
The whole project, got me thinking about communities. And so my family's my first community, and my peers in high school, my really important community to me. And then when I started to work, I started practicing Buddhism with the music teacher, who was an important mentor as a teacher. He was an important mentor to me. And that Buddhist community is filled with musicians. A lot of people know about Herbie Hancock or Wayne Shorter or Esmeralda Spalding. But, there's tons of musicians that I met there. And a couple of them play in this recording because I met Mark Coppell back then. So that's 30 years ago. And Mark and I are still friends, and we play together in the blues band. And the piano player is also an amazing musician. So David Bennett Cohen was in Country Joe and the Fish. I'm going to show you the front of his record. This was Country Joe. David was in this band.
You're not going to flash the back.
No, I won't flash the back. But David's a real master at New Orleans piano playing. And so I always feel really grateful. The music is always part of a community for me. So, when I wound up in my 20s and then in my 30s, I was producing music myself with the band and getting to play with people like David and Mark, excellent musicians, and then also working. I was working, and I met Hugh Gower. Hugh's a terrific guitar player, longtime friend, and I met him at work. He's in this recording. And so is Jeff Haley. Jeff Haley was a music teacher that moved on from our school. He was teaching first grade in our school at the time. He was a great bass player. And so, my band couldn't make it. The Easter Blues Band could not make it to this party. Eamon Condon and his wife Marceline out in Huntington invited us to play after seeing us at Chesterfield's. Chesterfield's was a blues club we used to play at in Huntington. So Eamon, this terrific Irish guy, said, "We love your band. Come on in and play." So he had this party out in his backyard for a friend of his. And I couldn't get the band to play, but these guys are so great that they, came and did this great set of music at the party. And so I'm grateful, in a sense, again, for this like community of my friends who are Buddhists and my friends from work And this is sort of a different period. It reflects sort of my early work period in my life. So I'm glad to
And
share
what are
it.
we going to hear? What is it?
We're going to hear something called Tipatina. Tipatina is the classic Professor Longhair song. Professor Longhair, was a New Orleans legendary piano player. He had a really distinctive style. He was like the master of the New Orleans piano that Dr. John wound up playing, and he carried on that tradition. So Professor Longhair, recorded a lot of things that were released on Rhino Records and stuff like that. These are very locally produced music from New Orleans. Really genuine. What's the word you would use? Regional music, right? Like Professor Longhair played that stuff, and he didn't really travel around, and nor was there an internet, right? So he was ensconced in this sort of New Orleans, bar room, club tradition, and also making recordings. Alan Toussaint would produce records of his and everything. So this is a real New Orleans kind of thing, and David plays great piano on it.
Great. So this is Tipatina. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Ken, I'm sorry that you're not able to see the chat that's going on because I'm discovering all the people who are secret blues. I mean, the people who I didn't know had such an interest in history of listening to the blues. Even my husband Bill has informed me we have a country Joe album somewhere, I guess in the city. So that's wonderful. Early on, for people who don't know, you mentioned a couple times your band. What is and who is your band?
So I was going to the studio when I was in high school, and Friday night and jamming out with friends. And I had this friend that I met at Monte Cristi. His name was Dan Cumberland. So Danny and I were, lifelong friends. and goes back, to those high school, days and everything. So fast forward, and it's around 1996, and by then, I'm teaching music for 5 years, 6 years, and just being a sort of a young adult. And Danny and I and our good friend Bill Acosta, we're
Oh,
thinking we
Bill's
all.
here. Bill's on this watching you. So
Yeah, yeah. So Bill and I have been great friends, since the '80s, and so we decided, we need to, play some music and form a band. And so we put together a few songs. And Dan was originally from Greenpoint, so he knew Williamsburg pretty well. And so he found out about this open mic at the Charleston. So the Charleston's this long bar that was there forever, and run by a guy named Benny. And we went down there for the open mic and played our songs, and then we hung out and we had a couple of Sam Adams and just listened to the other people playing. And this guy got up with a boom box, and he had a tape, it was a cassette tape of Jamie Abersol. And if people know what that is, that's where you have the music -1, or you have the backing track, but you don't have the lead instrument. And he played a C minor blues, like a swing C minor blues, and played harmonica. And then he played a couple of other things too. Three of us were just like, we got to talk to that guy. Like, as soon as he's done, man, we have to talk to him. So Tom, we've known him ever since, became fast friends. Tom is the harmonica player for the band. And, we started out, the four of us. And that has to be 25 years ago, right? Almost 25 years ago, that we met there in Williamsburg. So it's really cool that we go back to Williamsburg and we play on the street, now in 2020. But just as an important part of the story, Tom's girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, now 27 years, I think they're celebrating their anniversary. She introduced me to her chiropractor. Like, Tom's girlfriend had this, she said, she's so cute, she's a chiropractor I go to in the city and everything. So I'm going to bring her down to a gig. So we wound up having gigs at the Charleston, and Karen came down, and, I didn't get a chance to talk to her. It was a whole funny thing. My buddy Yo Kano, was there, and we went up and got pizza. He's blind, and so asked me, Ken, let's go get some pizza. So I didn't get a chance to talk to Karen too much that first night, but she was a sport. She got up and played cowbell, and we wound up.
She's this chiropractor, the friend, yeah.
Karen is the chiropractor in that story, and so we have a band, the East River Blues Band. We decided after much discussion, that our
I think we have to say, I just interrupt for a second. I think most people will know, but I know some people here do not know you. That's his wife, Karen. That's how he met his future wife, Karen.
Yeah. Sorry, I was make assumptions, but that's right. That's my wife.
Who is a great musician. Yeah.
That's right. So she's involved in the song that I think we queued up later. But we have the band, and we decided to call it the East River Blues Band. We play with Mark Coppell, the drummer that was in that last piece. We make an album in 2000. We call it the East River Blues Band. And one of the songs on there was that C minor blues swing. But we decided to do this weird little 3/4 time head for it, or the melody for it, and then break into the swing. So it was our first foray into original music, writing some music together. And Tom and I represented the band down in Memphis. There's a blues federation, the International Blues Federation. Their vision and their mission is to continue to bring this music forward into the 21st century, this important American music. And so they sponsor competitions. We went to a place in Teaneck. I'm forgetting the name. We competed there. I'll think of it. And we didn't win the electric band competition, but the New York Jazz and Blues Society, which I think is now the New York Blues Society, they sponsored us. They entered us in the competition, and Tom and I went down as a duo and represented the band in Memphis in 2010. And we played that C minor blues that we first heard Tom play way back in 1996. We played that together at a competition down there. So that's the next thing that's queued up. We called it Across Town, and we called ourselves the East River Blues Boys because there was only two of us. It wasn't the band. And so we played. We didn't win, but hey, it was a great experience in Memphis. We hung out for a weekend and listened to a lot of great music and stuff.
All right, so this is the East River Blues Boys doing Across Town.
Right.
There's another song we wrote. This is on our first album. This one was called, Across Town. Change the theme. Thank you very much. All right.
That's great. So Ken, we've talked a lot about you as a guitarist, but I'm curious about you as a composer, as someone who creates music. What's that process like for you? Have you always written? Is that something that you're really motivated to do? And how does that fit into your life?
Yeah, I do. I love to noodle on the guitar, and then when I find something that seems like a theme or whatever can be expanded, I've been happy with some of the things that I was able to expand on the guitar. The process is always just noodling with the guitar, and
it always starts with the guitar. It always starts with the guitar.
Always. And I've only written one or two things that I actually like where I put lyrics to it, right? I felt inspired enough to write, a song about Eric and about being a parent, right? And so it took me, several consecutive summers, when I would have time to sit and work on it, to be satisfied with 3 verses and a chorus for that. But usually everything is without words, right? So I've been lucky to have some friends like Evelyn Reed, for example, who was happy to write words to a song that sounded French, right? So I wrote this, piece of music that had no words. My friend Jim, said, "Man, that's a French song," and this was like 35 years ago. And then Evelyn, comes along and writes beautiful words to it to make it what it is. I think is beautiful. And same thing. It's always somebody else who can help out and put some words to it. I can't do it, but I feel okay because Jerry Garcia, one of my guitar heroes, he always said that his words were just nonsense, but he had Robert Hunter who wrote, really amazing songs. So I do like writing.
It's a different process. I mean, it's such a different part of the brain, I think, writing lyrics as opposed to writing the musical portion. It always surprises me that singer-songwriters have both abilities, because I think they are kind of separate. In my mind, they seem so separate.
Yeah, I think somebody like Paul McCartney is really a genius because he's got both of those things. He's written really amazing lyrics and to melodies that usually people recognize. He's a great melody writer. But yeah, it's unusual. Paul Simon, same thing. I think he's an incredible guitar player, but like a lyricist. He was an English major. Garrison Keillor goofs on him, but English majors who turn their lives into something, right? So when the band was going to make an album, we decided to write, all our own music and put our own album together around 2004, 2005. I had recorded this piece of music, which I really like, but I didn't have words to it. And so my, longtime buddy and singer in the blues band, Dan Cumberland, wrote the words to what we called Subway Blues. And I can't say enough about Dan because, he was sort of the heart. He was a big part of our band. He wrote all of the songs. I provided a couple of lines to the Subway Blues, but that's it. Dan wrote all these songs that we put on the CD. So out of 12 songs, we had 10 songs that we provided, ourselves, that we wrote. And Dan wrote like most of those, wrote the lyrics. Well, he wrote the lyrics for all of those, really. And so he's featured really nicely in the next one that we queued up because we did a television show. Again, the year I'm thinking that the year was around 2008 or 9. But it's in Westchester, a show called Roger Z's Working Musician. And Bill Acosta was doing the website for the New York Jazz and Blues Society, and his connections always bore fruit for us. And we were able to do this really nice TV recording. Playing. And in the band for this one, though, we had to ask Dennis, and so we're pretty lucky to know Dennis McDermott, right? My cousin plays drums on this next one, and we do the song Subway Blues. But before we play it, I have to say, I was listening to Bruce Springsteen describe the arc of his life this morning on NPR, because he's got this thing on Apple TV that just came out today and a new CD. And he talked about his 20s and his 30s as this period where you just get involved in your life and you're living, right? Maybe when you're younger, you're involved in some death. And that's true. Well, Irish and Italian people go to wakes. You have grandparents who pass away, and that was my experience as well. 20s and 30s, you do all this living and doing. And then, unfortunately, in your 50s, maybe when I'm 57, you start to experience some loss. And I think that's what this year has been for a lot of people. And it started out that way for us. Right? We lost Dan. Dan had pancreatic cancer and passed away back in January. And, we took it, hard. We miss him terribly. So he's singing, and this is Subway Blues.
All right.
Crashed my car, lost my hat. I'm staring down at these railroad tracks. I told my baby I'd be there by 8, but the downtown train was 40 minutes late. I tell you boys, it's not an easy life. Romance on the subway on a Saturday night. I could feel her slipping away from me as I stood there cursing at the IRT. 4 o'clock in the morning in Woodside, Queens, waiting on the number 7 train. Well, her love did fade as a matter of course. She said she met another on the Iron Horse. She liked my ride, and that's a fact. But since I have no car, she ain't been back. Ken Hughes picking the guitar. So I worked all day, I drank all night. The morning came around, I was a sorry sight. Had a king-size thirst, a shattered crown. Had to reach way up just to touch the ground. She said, come on baby, try and understand. I was the big strong arm to that conductor man. This train is a running, a ride on time, and I'll ride with him till the end of the line. 4 o'clock in the morning in Woodside, Queens, waiting on the number 7 train. Now listen here, boys, take my advice. Don't leave your baby lonesome on a subway at night. Or get yourself a car and save it that way, cause you can lose your baby on the MTA, or lose your baby on a train. Lose your baby on a train. See you later, baby.
That's great. I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah,
so Ken, we know
Yeah.
it is tough life.
Mm-hmm.
So we know you at Shelter Rock as part of another band, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about how that all came about and where you brought your music to Shelter Rock?
Yeah. Up at Shelter Rock, we've been doing RE, religious education. Fiona and Eric both went through RE. And
who are Fiona and Eric? Who are Fiona and Eric?
Fiona, my daughter, is 19. She's out at Ohio University. And my son is 17, is downstairs with Karin watching in the basement.
Are they musical at all? Do they like music? Do they...
Yeah.
Do they get involved?
So Fiona went out to Ohio University to study musical theater. She's an amazing singer. She may change her major. She's out there now, maybe watching. And Eric is also been playing trumpet since he was in the 5th grade, 4th grade, maybe 3rd grade. Here in Great Neck, he started playing trumpet maybe in the 3rd grade, I think. Yeah. So yes, he's been playing trumpet and he's been playing guitar now. He plays with me on Sundays with Dan Pratt and the Jazz Ensemble. So I feel that Shelter Rock, has been this community that has offered our family so much, right? Karin's in the choir with you. I don't have to tell you that. My wife, Karin, is in the choir with you. And Eric plays in the jazz ensemble with me. And I get to do it with him for another, 9 months or however long it is till, he's off to school next year, right? The kids have gone through at Shelter Rock, and had, great teachers through the religious education program on Sundays. and we were able to do lots of activities together. One of the things that they always do, Karen and the kids would go up to Star Island, which is one of the Shoal Islands, right off of New Hampshire and Maine. And there's this big, beautiful resort up there. It's an old, over 100 years old, right? The hotel up there that they would go to as part of the retreat for the congregation and other congregations, Unitarian, Universalist congregations. And so I went 1 year. And Karen and I were lucky to take this songwriting workshop with the women who are Emma's Revolution. And Pat Humphreys and Sandy O ran this workshop. They asked people to try to find something that seemed like they could sing it and capture, something that you could make a song from. And so this challenged me because I can't write lyrics. And that's what I started with. I came up with this phrase, I can't write the words to my own damn song. And I went with that. And it seemed to work itself out into a song, and it perfectly sort of worked itself into a little larger idea, which is that you can't do things by yourself. You often need somebody else to help, whether it's if you can't dance, you need somebody else to lead. And when you can't write words to your own song, you need somebody else to help you, and you can't do anything by yourself. And the opportunity to do this with you, this discussion, and to reflect on music in my life really brought into clarity for me that it's always been a community that helped to create value for me and with music, right? So whether it was my family, my parents, my grandparents, my sister, my peers, my good friends who shared music with me and helped with my education, my teacher Kevin, whether it was a Buddhist community where I find 30 years I've been practicing, and I find nourishment within the community, and it sustains my creativity. As well as the workplace and teaching music, so the kids sustain my feeling about music. I didn't talk much about that, but teaching music to kids for 30 years has really sustained my enthusiasm for music in a way that adults can't. This is an interesting idea, but anyway, so the community at Shelter Rock gave us a chance to form a band, right? So Bob Gale, who teaches the third grade, the religious education up there, came to me and said, we ought to have a band and we ought to play at these picnics that they have over here, And so Bob and I, and then Bruce, who plays piano, we had everybody. Bobby Perina was playing drums with us, and Bobby was still at Shelter Rock. And Karen, my wife, singing. And Evelyn, when we first started the band, singing. So we had this great band. We needed a bass player, and John Sinclair appears in the community so that we can, create music. It's amazing. And the Any Given Sunday band, I think the name Richard Bach came up with, is, catchy enough for us. We're like, that sounds pretty good. So we have a text thread that we go to all the time. We've become very supportive and good friends. So the Any Given Sunday band has been meeting for rehearsals for, I don't know, what is this, 8 years or something like that. We've been doing it. Yeah. And we've met here at our house here in Great Neck most often. For many Friday nights, it was just a regular thing until COVID hit. And then we have Zooms that we've continued to do since March with the band members on Friday nights. So we've written some songs together. Bruce writes a song about every other day, and the band doesn't really keep up with him. He's
this
not frustrated.
Bruce Torf, right? Bruce Torf.
Bruce Torf, yeah. Hey, I wrote another little ditty, and he'll send it over in an email to everybody, and we're just like scratching our heads. We couldn't catch up with the last 10 that he wrote, but and then we get to play for the homecoming picnic or the RE dinners. and create, value again with music. So the community up at Shelter Rock has been sort of this very important, final piece of this presentation or this sharing, right? So we wrote this song. I wrote this song. I can't write the words to my own picnic, I think. This is homecoming, but it's a picnic. And they perform it. So Suzanne Viverito singing with Will and Karin. We have more singers than we have amazing singers. And Suzanne also provides some choreography and anyways. And I think Colin's in this too, right? So Colin Woodhouse plays harmonica, right? So he gets up and joins us. I think I covered, no, wait a minute. There's Dan's also, Ernsberger is playing mandolin. It's a big community, right? It's a great way to end the presentation. This is called, I can't write the words to my own damn song.
Right. And I think you may have frozen a little bit during that. And so I just want to say again, this is, you can't write the words to your own damn song. And I also want to let you know the Perinas are in the house. So let's listen to it. That's really great.
It reminds me of
Debbie,
the rooftop
Debbie,
concert.
sorry?
It reminds me of the rooftop concert and Yoko and the girlfriends, laughing or whatever. It was finished. So I see in the video, Rachel Zambino and Suzanne are singing with Karin, and I wanted to mention they started the band with Evelyn, but it was really so important to all of us to be able to continue with Rachel and Suzanne. They were, they jumped in to be able to fill like a pretty big void for us in the band. And again, this is that same sort of theme, right? When you're in your one part of your life, you have more times you come up against a loss more often. But Rachel and Suzanne filled those shoes beautifully. So we're very lucky that they're with us.
We are. And before we leave that clip, Debbie Perina was asking again when that was. Was that Homecoming 2019?
I'm not going to be able to tell you that right now because I would need to go back and look through my photos library on my computer to see the date for it. But it's a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Was it more than? Yeah, but it's not really recent, but pretty recent.
No, it's not really recent, but I think it's about 2 years ago.
I think so. I actually thought it was, as I said, September. Rachel Zampino said she thinks it's 2018, and believe me, Rachel probably would know. So,
yeah.
Audrey agreed.
2 years ago, Memorial Day weekend.
You think it's Memorial Day?
It's Memorial Day weekend too.
It wouldn't be Memorial Day weekend because we would be at the retreat. That's
true. It would have been bridging.
This is either homecoming or bridging. Anyway, it's not important probably to a lot of people. But anyway, it's either 2018, 2019, something like that. So,
it's not
folks,
2018. Yeah.
Not 2019?
No.
So I just want to tell people a little bit about what we're looking forward to in the future with Ken and the East River Blues Band. At Shelter Rock, each year, we raise money for music scholarships. And it's been going, 15, 16 years now. And we're thrilled that we are able to, last year, I think we had 2 scholarships at $3,500 or something. Anyway, over the last decade or so, we've been able, we at Shelter Rock, raise money for music scholarships. This is a really challenging year because our usual plan is to have a big cabaret evening and people at Shelter Rock come out of the woodwork and sing and dance and tell jokes and carry on. And we raise a lot of money and we have a lot of fun. But obviously we can't do that this year. So what we've done is we are going to have a virtual cabaret. And as part of putting this together, Ken was asked if he and the East River Blues Band might participate. And indeed, they've given us a selection. But in the process, it occurred to me, if there was any way possible, in this time where we're all living on the internet and looking at music, I asked Ken if it might be possible for them to do a little something more extended, which would be part of our cabaret, but at a different date and be kind of its own standalone activity, musical activity. So Ken, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you've planned, and we'll tell you the details. And I'm hoping this will interest you because this has been great. This is just great, and your love of music and your enthusiasm and all of that is really electric. So tell us what's next for us, for those of us who are on Facebook Live.
Well, we're looking forward to presenting a few pieces of blues music and traditional blues music. So not our own compositions, but this gives us an opportunity to look at some of the really seminal harmonica players, songwriters, and guitar players, especially from the Delta blues of the 1930s, which, those are the oldest recordings that we have. They were race records. They were recorded on small labels like Bluebird and OK and a few others, Paramount. And so those oldest recordings are where everything else came from that we all sort of know about. We know about Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. If you're a blues fan, you know those names. And then all the white guys like Mike Bloomfield and Paul Butterfield, who came through Chicago and loved that music and cherished it, and the Rolling Stones and everything else, right? But the stuff that really got it started was down in the Delta. So the Mississippi blues, harmonica players, like Sonny Boy Williamson, the first Sonny Boy Williamson, who recorded in the 30s, and Robert Johnson, who many people know now, as well as some others. That we took the opportunity when you invited us to explore some of that music, and we'd like to be able to present it a little bit, give it a little context. Tom Brumley's really technically a wonderful harmonica player and can talk a little bit about the harmonica playing and the style back then. And some of the guitar playing, we'll do some slide guitar presentation. So we're excited. We're really happy to have that chance, right? Because blues band, we get a chance to enter the blues. It's a way to sort of honor the music and create a little value. So, Bill Acosta and Mark Opel and Tom Brumley and I will put together, it'd be like 5 songs and a little bit of background about, how they came to be and why they're important. Hopefully it's not going to be too
it's kind of the history of the blues, yeah?
A little bit. Like
101. Great.
Right.
And so, folks, what we're going to do is that will be a Facebook Live event, and we haven't totally locked down this date, but we're aiming for Friday evening, November 20th, and we'll send out notices. And if you're around here tonight, hopefully, please like the Music and Performing Arts. If you're listening through Facebook, please like Music and Performing Arts at Shelter Rock, and then you'll get a notice for that. But again, I'll say that's going to be Friday, November 20th at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be probably about an hour, don't you think?
Yeah,
Ken?
That sounds about right.
So
Sure.
An hour of blues, kind of a survey of the blues, which I think will be really fun. So that's great. So Ken, thank you for doing this. Is there anything else you want to say, or?
I just want to say thank you, and thank you to everybody in the music committee, and especially for you for inviting me to do it, because it gave me a chance to reflect in a way that I definitely wouldn't have. I'm really grateful for so many people in my musical life, especially, but this gave me a chance to really, think about these things. And it's important, to remember the people who support you, right? I mean, we all try to do that, right? So, some way. Thank you very much, Stephen, and thank you everybody who showed up.
And I want to say thank you, Ken. You are such a giving musician. You're so open and willing to play and open to other musicians and collaborating with other musicians. Those of you who are affiliated with Shelter Rock, you're going to hear him again on Sunday with a group of, I think we have seven musicians, and Ken's one of the players with us. We're doing one voice on Sunday, Ken. That's what we're doing. But anyway, Thank you so much. Thank you for the gifts that you bring to Shelter Rock, that you and your entire family bring to Shelter Rock. You really enrich our community. And I know you enrich your school, because I had the good fortune of going over a few years ago and seeing you interact with your kids. And
that's right.
It was really inspiring. I feel like you have special gifts, and we appreciate the fact that you're so free with them, to all of us. So, folks, thank you. It's Friday night. Next Friday night, we're going to be talking with Caitlin McKechnie. Caitlin is an extraordinary singer. She has a major career as an opera singer. She also plays the ukulele. She started Opera Cowgirls, so that might tell you that we're going to go in directions that are a little unusual. She's a wonderful, charming person, and I hope you'll join us. That's next Friday night, 7 p.m. here on our chats. Thanks again for tuning in. Good night, everyone.